All right, Amanda Sizemore did the old not guilty chart, which can be effective for jurors just before they go into deliberate. Jamie White watching along with us. He's in East Lansing, Michigan, trial attorney. What's your take on both sides, you know, in this case overall as this jury gets ready to take it?
So, you know, my first take before I get into the individual positions is, you know, in my opinion, I think the ball got dropped in the charging decision here. You know, I don't believe that there was an intentional attempt to commit murder or actually commit murder, but there certainly was reckless disregard for human life when she shot through that door, which would equate to second-degree murder. With that said, the manslaughter decision is a much lower burden. You know, I think the prosecutor has been really effective at outlining the different interactions that people have at their front door. Obviously, this one was confrontational. I think most of us that have lived a life have either seen or participated in an upset neighbor, whether it's a loose dog or you know, water coming into the driveway or where have you. And, you know, the idea that enables somebody to believe that, and so let me back up. The defense continues to talk about the reasonable thoughts of the defendant. Well, those reasonable thoughts of the defendant, it also has to be that they reasonably believe they're in the threat of imminent bodily harm. And, you know, banging on a door and to shoot recklessly, quite frankly, through that door with law enforcement already notified, I think is outside the scope of what manslaughter or a not guilty verdict would encapsulate. On the other hand, the defense brings up, you know, important points. You know, the state of Florida, we've seen this case happen before where people claim that they believe that their life was in imminent harm and it resulted in the death of an assailant and so on. So, you know, I think the jury doesn't have a lot to work with here. They've got to make a decision. Either they believe that she was reasonably in a position to believe that her life was in danger or that she was in the danger of imminent harm. I don't think they get close, but by lack of the charging decision, I think that their decisions are limited.
Yeah, and the jury will have it soon. The last word from the state. Jamie White, what do you think?
No brainer. This is a guilty verdict. Again, I think the only mistake that people made was undercharging this case. Mr. Buxman was masterful in laying out for the jury the standard that's required for manslaughter. You know, we just can't have a society where people are shooting through closed doors, knowing people are on the other end where there's no imminent threat of harm. And while it is the viewpoint of the defendant, that viewpoint still has to fit the standard that she felt that her life was in jeopardy, or at least that she was in the threat of grave bodily harm, and that evidence is just not there. I expect a guilty verdict, and because the facts are not in dispute, I expect it relatively soon.
Okay, they've been at it 36 minutes and counting. We'll see. Yeah, what a prosecution this is. It seems to be one of those statement cases. Jamie White is still with us. During that news conference, we heard them talking about this text message from Dr. Placencia, the other doctor in this, texting, "I wonder how much this moron will pay," and let's find out. You know, from what was unveiled in that news conference, it seems pretty damning. They've followed the money and the trail. There's more to the story. Your thoughts on this prosecution?
You know, so Ted, we first start to see these prosecutions about 10 years ago, 15 years ago at the height of the heroin epidemic. We saw dealers who were charged as a result of providing drugs to willing customers and ultimately resulting in their demise. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding that, but there was also a lot of successful prosecutions. Here, the communications with the medical professionals are really just extraordinary, because this was not just somebody paying for a drug upon which there appeared to be collusion to gain profits at his expense, knowing that he had these problems. So I believe there's already been a few plea deals done in this case.
Yeah, 3 out of the 5 pled out, including the assistant.
I think these medical professionals have really serious problems. I mean, you say a statement case, it is a statement case. These doctors take an oath, and the short version is to do no harm, and everything done in this case appears to be the opposite of that.
Yeah, for a few $1,000s. It's horrible. Jamie White, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Really appreciate your time and assistance here.